this computer. And then I'm going to go live on Facebook. And then when I'm live on Facebook, I'll introduce you, okay? So just give me a few moments to do that. So my video the video goes onto the Woman of Stature page. Okay, next. And then as soon as then I'll start. So we're recording on the, we're doing a Zoom recording as well as it goes live onto Facebook. So I'm just setting up Facebook. If you just give me a few minutes.
No problem.
Okay. Okay.
It's a lovely day. It's been beautiful weather the last couple of days.
Okay, we're going live. Let me just check. Okay, we are live. Almost 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Let's just see. I'll tell you now when we're live. Okay, here we go. Let me just wait for that. Right, we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. It is just after 12, and it is Charlotte from Women of Stature. And again today, we gather together in a space where we talk and celebrate women. We talk about women, we celebrate women. It's still Women's Month. We only have a few days left of Women's Month, but oh my goodness, what an extraordinary month it certainly has been. So welcome to everyone that is online with us today. As I say, it is Wednesday, the 26th of August, and what a beautiful day it is. We have sunshine, we have clear skies, and we've got a warm, beautiful day, and that is so much to be grateful for. And I'm certainly very grateful. I have a heart filled with gratitude for all the women who have made a valued contribution to the publishing of the book, Forgotten Woman, the South African Story. And over the past weeks, I've interviewed each one of the incredibly remarkable women that have contributed their stories in the book. Why the book, you ask? Well, during lockdown, we realized how many women will be affected as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and the closure of the economy of South Africa. It has caused terrible distress in the lives of many families, many people. So not only has it been a health risk, but it's also been an economic risk for so many of our women. So we want to reach out to these women. These are women that have built up their empires. They have worked day and night to build up a business. They have put everything into that business. And now, as a result of something that is so out of their control, they've potentially will be losing their businesses. A lot have unfortunately already closed their doors. What happens to these women, you ask? Well, that's the question we're asking. What happens to these women? How many of these women are actually able to get any sort of relief aid coming from either government or bank institutions, financial institutions? Can you imagine how many are actually in dire straits as we speak right now? A very interesting statistic, ladies and gents, is 70% of the travel industry, the tourism industry workforce is women. 70% is women, and we still haven't got our borders open. So you can imagine how many of these businesses are suffering the dire consequences. So the book is there as a way that we want to show and pay forward and help at least some of these women to regain that they have, with their heart and soul, have built up. So the funds from the sale of this book goes to the Forgotten Woman COVID-19 project. The book is available on Amazon Kindle as an ebook at this current moment at a very special price because of it being Women's Month. We have 15 women who have contributed their chapters. And today I have with me, not only is she one of the co-authors, but she's also a very dear friend of mine. I respect her, I honor her, I love her dearly. She's like a daughter to me. We've grown so close together. We are so in tune with one another. I've seen, I've heard, I've experienced this woman in every possible context. And I can tell you one thing, she's a warrior of note. A warrior, she stands up, she takes her space, she's proud of who she is, and she hasn't allowed her past to define her. So I'm very proud to introduce to you, she has built up an empire from humble beginnings. Sue Moodley, welcome. I am so grateful for you to be in my life. You have sowed into my life, and I appreciate you for who you are, the woman that you are, the mother that you are, and the daughter that you are to your wonderful father, who you have looked after through all of this, and together you have achieved. So Sue,
thank you, Charlotte.
welcome. Welcome. So
Thank
lovely
you.
to have you with me, and thank you to the ladies that have already tuned in on our Zoom meeting, and we are live on Facebook, as I've said, Sue, so hopefully we're going to be touching some lives today and reaching the bigger community through Facebook. So Sue, you have had such an interesting life. And you know,
I always said, Charlotte, I'm a woman of many hats.
exactly, you are certainly, and you wear them so beautifully, I must tell you. There's one thing about Sue, and that is she knows, she's stylish, she knows how to dress that hat. So Sue, tell us about where you come from, where did you grow up, and a little bit about your childhood and leading up to you growing up and becoming this successful businesswoman.
You know, I don't really would like to say I'm a successful businesswoman these days. I don't even use the word entrepreneur anymore. I actually like to use the word socialpreneur because I think I've changed that a bit. So I don't call myself an entrepreneur because of my life, where I've come from. I grew up very humbly. I come from Chatsworth, a little village in KwaZulu-Natal in Durban. So I was born there. And when I was 2, my parents brought me up to Johannesburg, the big city lights, the city of gold, because that's where job opportunities were for Dad in the 80s. But it was very, very, you know, not just the poverty, it was a humbling experience because I grew up very poor as such. You know, work was very scarce, and you know, it's like I said to you earlier on when we spoke, and I think a lot of women's stories in the book is like Group Areas Act was one of the biggest challenges for me as a young girl growing up in Johannesburg as such. It was one of the travesties of apartheid that, you know, it affected me because, I mean, apartheid only fell in 1994. So practically I've been exposed to that for a very, very long time. So as a young woman, it was hard, it was difficult going to school, and then all of a sudden, as a young woman, I've now had to meet up with white people and black people. And then, you know, not just, I mean, apartheid fell when I was just about finishing school, but I've had to encounter black people for the first time when I was about 17 years old. So that was the first time I've actually been exposed to something like that, because my parents sheltered me from that. And with Group Areas Act, we never really had to be, I mean, if you went out shopping or whatever with your parents, you know, you'd only allowed to be going into shopping malls or shopping areas where there were only Indians only. So it was a changing and experience for me. And then when when apartheid fell, and then we learned of this great icon of Nelson Mandela, and then we started seeing the hope and the change of South Africa. But at that same time, out of that poverty, I also had to go through my own personal issues with alcoholism with my dad. You know, putting food on the table. You know, I mean, my dad was not perfect. He was an alcoholic, and it was hard. It was very, very hard. And it's, you know, nobody wants to see their parent put in that situation. No one wants to see the fights or see your mom, you know, in tears, you know, that sort of thing. You know, it was really, really tough. And when he lost his job, you know, we didn't have a source of income. And yeah, I was 19 years old, and I was earning a measly salary. I mean, it was barely not enough for myself. And I started to start my own business and, you know, get my father into a rehab program and start my life while paying for my own studies. I'm a qualified accountant by profession. It's been really difficult. And then you get into your business, and then you are faced with other elements as to how South Africa is growing. We meet up with patriarchal systems, because I chose to go into infrastructure development because South Africa was changing, and the big boom was RDP housing, and I got onto that bandwagon. I made it a business. I made it my lifestyle. So that became my life. And in that interim, I've also had to have children, I've had to get married, and I've had to have challenges in my own life. I've had to lose my mom, I've had to face cancer, I've had to battle breast cancer with my mom, I've had to run my business, I've had to be pregnant, I've had to lose my sanity, face depression, my body image. I mean, those are things that's affected me. You know, I felt depressed, I felt unworthy. All these challenges were very, very difficult. And I'm glad to have said that this is my journey, this is my story. I have so much to offer, and I'm just like every other woman.
Well, Sue, you know, when you say you've had to face your difficulties and challenges, as you say, each one's story in the book is unique, and yours is as unique. And I think, you know, I did read your chapter, I must say, and I was really touched. And I was like sitting back and saying, my goodness, you know, when I met you, Sue, you know, I looked at this very, very well-groomed, stylish woman, and it's only now, over the years, that you and I have really gotten closer, and especially now reading into the book, and now where I can see it in the written form because I have it on my phone, that you start to really delve deep into the psyche of the person themselves. So who would you say, Sue, during you know, your stages of, or the different seasons that you've gone through in your life, who would you say are the role models that have influenced you as a young girl and then as a woman?
Definitely my mother. You know, through all of this, I see a lot of strength. We come from, I think I put it in my chapter as my book. Remember, Forgotten Woman, my snippet of the story is part of my memoir that will be introduced in April next year, will be launched. It will be available at Exclusive Books, my memoir of Sue Moodley. So what you're reading is basically a snippet. I've given you a highlight of just a little bit of what I am. So it goes a little bit more in depth in the book, my entrepreneurial and the stages and the phases and the heartache and all of that. So the Forgotten Woman thing is basically a snippet of what you're reading. So there's a lot more to me when you do read the actual book that's coming out next year. My role models, I think I've put it in the Forgotten Book chapter, is basically the strong lineage of woman I come from. You know, I come from a very very strong line of women. These are women that come from Irish backgrounds. We do not cry, we do not complain. You suck it up and you get on with it. You take no nonsense, and that's basically it. It started with my great gran, it started with my mom, my granny, and I felt the differences earlier on in my life because of my mixed heritage. My great gran was an Irish woman from Dublin, so, and she married an Indian man. So it was, for me, that differences in races was already there. I grew up with it. And as I grew older, I understand the concept of what racism is all about and how it's impacted me in my life, because I've seen it in my own family. We used this very derogatory word, coolie. And it's only yesterday that I understood why it was called coolie. And we don't like to talk about it now because it's now a derogatory word. But in my household, it was you coolie kids, that sort of thing. So those are things that affected me growing up. And when apartheid fell, you now see it not just in your own family calling you this coolie kid, but out there you have other people now calling you that. So those are things that's affected me in my life. And the thing is, am I going to let this thing be a shackle in my life, or am I going to move on from it? And that's where I made that decision that I'm not going to let apartheid be a shackle in my life. So we're going to move forward from that. But then I realized as I got older, there's other shackles in my life, and that's the patriarchal system. And I've had to encounter this numerous times in my business. It's made me to become very hardcore, sometimes very, don't show that lack of emotion, especially when you're taking on men in boardrooms, and you don't want to be seen as this ditzy woman. And especially as an Indian woman, we are kind of seen as, if they call you, it's the blonde woman, it's blonde. But if you are brown, then it's a completely different ball game. It's like you're completely fruitless. You don't even seem, it's like an airhead. You just don't give the brown woman a chance. So I've had to go through that stage, where we don't get work because of your color of your skin.
Sure.
Those were challenges that I've had to face, and I still face to this day. We have to constantly reassert ourselves. We have to constantly be showing our worth, who we are, validating yourself all the time. That I run this business. This is who I am. Have you not heard about me? This is what I do. I have to constantly have to remind people that this is what I do and this is what I've done. I have to constantly show them that I am capable. And at times it does get to you because you start wondering about your own worthiness as a person.
Yes.
And you start believing in yourself.
No, absolutely, because it does. It eventually affects, as you say, your self image and your self-belief and your self-worth. Now, one of the things that you've gone through, as you were saying earlier on, Sue, was about your mother and your mother having breast cancer, and that is obviously, you and I have a similar past with our mothers, because we both lost our mothers as a result of breast cancer. Your mother was a very, very strong woman, and she obviously must have paved the way for you in many ways. Tell us a bit about her.
It's an honor to actually speak about her, Charlotte, because she was very, very strong. She was diagnosed at the age of 49. And I never really thought I was actually quite ignorant to the disease. I never knew this big word, cancer. And I never knew how ugly it was until it took someone so strong from me. No matter how strong you are, cancer has a way of making things very, very, very ugly. Because she was not just my role model in my life, but she, no matter all the problems she's dealt with my dad, you know, she kind of was there always being strong for me. And that way of her paving my character as such, I'd call it that, is her strength paved my character. And really, she was really awesome, and she went through the disease, and yeah, she lost the battle 2 years after being diagnosed. So because of that challenge, I think I became the ambassador for the Breast Health Foundation. I've taken them as part of my being patron for the brand India in South Africa. I'm very, very big with it. It's one of my charities of choice because I've seen what breast cancer does to other women. You know, hospice as well, a remarkable charity, because you have to go through something to see how these people come in, and it's not just about myself anymore. And that's why I keep saying, you know, I'm not an entrepreneur, I'm a socialpreneur, because how it's affected me, it's how I'm going to pay it forward.
Yes, I agree with you.
How I'm going to pay it forward. I'm not just going to let all these stuff in my life become shackles that are not going to define me. I've got to pay it forward. Take these lessons, what I've learned. There's so many other women that are going through breast cancer, and I've learned what it feels like to lose somebody that I love, to watch somebody go through it. And then when you become a part of an organization of like the Breast Health Foundation, and then you see that what my mom had was a wonderful support structure. She was lucky to have been on a great financial scheme, you know, a medical aid and that sort of thing. And some people, some women in South Africa don't even have those facilities. So it was God's way for me to actually say, listen, you need to take your mom's death, her lesson in life, her experience, and be there for somebody else. And that's where I tend to find that I found a lot of help with joining the BHF in helping me with my grieving process, is that I could help somebody else.
You do absolutely amazing work there, and I know how many hours you spend at the Helen Joseph and helping with feeding parcels and getting these 200 to 300 women waiting in the queue to see Dr. Carol Ann Ben or Professor Carol Ann Ben. But there's also something else that you do and you've done, and that is obviously, and I don't know how far you got with that, but you were talking about building a school in India at one point in time. That project?
That was quite a while. Just before, it was about 7 years ago. That was when I met Dr. George in New York. I was in New York at the time, and I met Dr. George, and he is part of the Shanti Bhavan project there in India, and he needed help with building schools for girls in India. Now, in India, they have a school system where certain girls are not allowed. They still have a very old way of thinking in India, especially where girls are not to be educated. They're not allowed to go to school. They reach a certain age and then they married off. And they are not exposed to having an education. And this is where he came to me and he said to me, "Sue, would you be able to help me build the school and at least help me build a couple of classrooms for these girls?" And that's when I got on board with the project, and I helped donate quite a bit of money to help build a school in India so that these girls have access to education. And I think it was about 3 years ago, we actually had the first lot of girls actually come out through that program, educated, and now going to varsity.
Wow,
so it's not these girls are now ready to give back to their communities once they're done. So it's that little lot of community that's now going to be changed just because these girls are now had an exposure to being educated.
So that entire community has you like changed. The Oprah Winfrey of India, like Oprah Winfrey for the school in South Africa. You the Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah, hats off to Oprah, but I've got a long way to go. I've got a long way.
So Sue, you know, it's always so wonderful to to just delve into the depth of someone's heart and their lives and so on. But you are a mother of two beautiful children as well. Share
Yes.
about your children. And I mean, I know that you've gone through a bit of a difficult period with lockdown and having to suddenly be not only a working mother, but
It's been
a
quite difficult with
tutor.
homeschooling. It's been very challenging, especially being between two offices, being between KZN and Johannesburg, and homeschooling, and trying to be a policewoman as well. Because they at that preteen stage now, so I have to be a lot more assertive, and especially obviously COVID-19 has been a real eye-opener for me. Not just how it's affected the women of South Africa, but my family, myself, my kids, because they've all had to, it was a new way of learning, a new way of coping, and how we need help and assistance with our coping mechanisms. And it was really difficult, but I think now, I think almost 5 months into it, I'm hopefully, now that we're on lockdown 2, the kids are back at school, and I've got to now teach them about social distancing and wearing the mask and washing your hands and just being a little bit more assertive with them.
Yes.
But they are my pride and joy. They're what I live for and what I wake up for every day. So
Wonderful. Well, Sue, now with it being Women's Month, obviously we've been celebrating women we celebrate women irrespective whether it's Women's Month or not. I know, Sue, we're through Women of Stature, that's our mantra, is to celebrate and support women no matter what month it is in the year. But considering it is Women's Month, it's our national Women's Month. What would some of the pearls of wisdom be that you'd like to share with women in this month of it being Women's Month? What are your pearls of wisdom? Some of them.
And I think this last couple of months, it's been very depressing for most women. So I think a lot of us have not taken the time to look after ourselves. And we've been so depressed about our businesses and worrying about everything. I think one of the key things I'd like to say to women, especially right now, and me being ever so the glamour queen, put on that coat of lipstick. Put on extra mascara. Make yourself feel good, because you need to feel good for yourself, or else you're never going to be good for anybody else. And we have to stop feeling so depressed about all the stuff that's happening in our life. And we need to get on, because the show must go on. That show must go on. Really, it will. Whatever it is, life goes on. Businesses fail. We fail as people. We fail as individuals. We fail as women. We cry. But we have to make ourselves feel good. You wake up every day, look in the mirror, put on that coat of lipstick and say, listen, we've got this goal and we're going to carry on.
So true, so true. And that's to the point that I think we as women tend to be the first ones to stand up and criticize ourselves, and rather to respect and to honor ourselves.
Of course, and I think I've even written it in the book as well. About 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis. I actually stopped the public platform of speaking because of the thyroid. And I put on a lot of weight after the birth of Caitlin, and it was very troubling as to how body image affected me. And I felt fat all the time. I felt humiliated all the time. Nothing would ever fit, and you'd look in the mirror and you just never feel good enough. And I've had to go through that depression and all of that. And I think I wrote it in the book, how sad and lonely I felt by my weight journey, that it got so bad that I actually decided to do a beauty pageant so that I could feel good for myself, that I needed to achieve this, that I needed to wear this crown. And I had to go through that journey of a pageant to prove to myself that I am worthy. Now, not everybody really has it in me, but I needed to prove something to myself that I am worthy. So I think, like I said, I'm a woman who wears many, many caps, and I like outdoing myself. I have to put boundaries in place, and I have to go forward in life. That nothing should hold me back. Nothing should ever hold me back.
Yeah, that's your power. That's your strength.
Yeah, that's my power and my strength.
And
Yes.
your strength. So, Sue, maybe you'd just like to share a little bit about your business. I mean, we know that you say that you're a socialpreneur, but I know that you're running a multi-million rand manufacturing company.
Okay, we have it's actually now it's like a Sue M lot of brands now, because there's quite a few things that I've been doing over the last couple of years. I've branched out into many things. One of the new things that's coming up is I'll be now moving into a little bit of fashion with my own, with my own brand of fashion coming soon. That's coming
Ooh,
soon.
you kept that a secret from me. As the first I'm hearing about it. I want to be your fashion model for the more mature. Okay.
So with my own retail brand that's coming up soon.
Fantastic, Sue. Well done.
Yeah, so I'm going to be delving into a bit of the beauty industry as well. So there's lots, trying to seek employment. The hairdressing industry has really touched me. So I might delve a little bit into that with my own hair care line products.
Fantastic.
But my key and core business is basically water and building infrastructure. That's where, I mean, that's what pays the bills. That's changing lives here in South Africa, is giving everyone access to free and running water, a flushing toilet, and access to water systems here. I do low-cost housing. I build RDP housing for government. They are actually my key customers at the moment, municipalities, that sort of thing. So COVID-19 has affected my business. We were very, very challenged at this very, very difficult time. Other businesses as well, where we couldn't actually service the rest of Africa with travel ban and things like that. So I have been affected by COVID-19, but I do look at the brighter picture. I was able to share part of my journey with the Forgotten Woman. That was the highlight of COVID-19. No matter what business has been challenging, I was able to put forward my story and help other women out with the Forgotten Book. So that's been the highlight of the COVID-19. Oh, there's a lot more to me.
I was, obviously you and I had a couple of conversations through this whole period of lockdown and that, and then I saw these photographs that you were sending Leon and myself of these massive, massive machines that they are like stretching literally kilometers along in these huge, huge manufacturing plants. And then you would tell us, we're making this pipe and we're doing this. And I was looking at this and I was saying, good grief, Sue. That's massive stuff that you're talking about. And I know that you mentioned that the one machine alone cost a couple of tens of millions of rands. And I had to laugh when you said you are finally, I think it was, I don't think I must say what you said, in fact, that you were the Chinese, but yeah. Tell us about that machine, because I remember that machine was the one thing that was laying heavily on your...
Oh yeah, no, that's been very challenging as well. Just to get it here in South Africa was challenging itself, because that services water for Africa. So that's been very challenging. It's been a lot of red tape involved just to get it around. But I'm there, and just I've got a little bit more red tape to cut, but I will get there. Like I said, there's lots of things that I do, and there's never enough hours in a day for me. So yeah, it's challenging, but I'm getting there.
And Sue, what I'm going to ask you now, and I'm sure you thought about this very often, and I'm pretty sure that if you had the means and the way, well, you have the means and you have the way, but if you really were interested in this, but if you were given the power in this country for just one day, what is the first thing that you would do, and what would you want to see happen and change in this country from your perspective?
I have a daughter, and me as a woman, the things that affect me right now is the GBV. I was very saddened to hear of an 8-month-old woman that was viciously murdered about 2 months ago in Soweto, pregnant 8 months. And it affected me so much to think, you know what, we as women of stature, as an organization, you know, we still have so much to do. We still have so much to conquer, so much to achieve. GBV affects all of us. That inequality, it's there. It doesn't just affect the poor, because I know some very, very prominent women who are also victims of GBV. It's just, we just don't talk about it. It's something that's, at this particular moment in time, it's really touched me, especially this Women's Month. GBV has really touched me, and it's something that we as South Africa, we need to start breeding a new generation of men. And it's our duty as women to change the mindsets as mothers, as sisters, as aunties. You know, we need to change that the way of men thinking, our sons. That's where it all starts. It starts from home. GVV starts from home.
Yeah, unfortunately, as you say, it's become a pandemic on its own, just over this period it's been. And I must just tell you, ladies, everybody that's online with us and watching this, I actually received the official document that has been put out into, you know, obviously put out of the action that the government is taking to obviously try and control what is going on currently. And it's quite a long document, so if anybody wants it, I can share it with them. I'll share it with you too, Sue, because in it, obviously, the president speaks of the resources and the actions that are being taken by government to try and curb this pandemic in our country. And it's affecting us on a daily basis. I mean, I had one of our co-authors, Chapiso, that was online with me. I interviewed her on Monday. I mean, yeah, it was Monday. And she was actually attacked last week. She was walking back, well, she was doing her morning run or afternoon run, whatever time of day it was, and the next thing she felt this jerk from behind, and the car pulled up, 4 guys in the car. The one was obviously attacking her, but she fought tooth and nail, and she just didn't give them enough gap to be able to get her into the car. So, and again, we say, you know, it's happening right on our doorstep with people. I mean, she's written her story in the book, and no sooner had she written the story and then something like this happens to her. So it is a huge problem in our country, and certainly something that needs its attention. Like,
and it's our role as women as such, like I said, we need to start changing or working towards this new generation of men that we want to see. If we want to have this change, we need to start working with this new generation of men that we need to breed to conquer GBV.
Yeah.
And that is also one of the ways that we're also going to be changing the patriarchal systems, how we are seen as women in corporate or work challenges or whatever we may face. We need to start grooming a new generation of men. And unfortunately, we at Women of Stature, we are very lucky because we are one of those organizations that addresses these sort of issues, and we are exposed to a lot of women to see that change and make that change happen. We continuously, speaking about it, identifying problem areas, and giving women and our communities access to these things. So that's why Woman of Stature is part of my life, because I can make a change. I see myself giving somebody the change. I can make a change, and I can offer the change. So yeah, let's teach it and pay it forward, the new generation man.
And then we are almost at the end of our interview, but in the last few moments, I wanted to just ask, you've now written your story. You say it's only a short excerpt of your memoirs, so we're looking forward to that. But what is it that you would like people to take away from it when they read your story? What is it that you think, or would hope that they take from it?
I have that essence that every single woman has. Every single one of us, when we read The Forgotten Woman, we all have had challenges. And I wanted somebody, when they read my story, I'm just the same like everybody else. I cry. I have my good days. I have my bad days. And I wanted women to identify with me, that they are not alone on this journey. And there are a lot of other women out there who've experienced maybe my story. Somebody can identify with me. That they are not alone in this. Just by reading The Forgotten Woman, I mean, there's exceptional women who've contributed their stories to that. But if you could just feel a little bit of my essence in that story, then you'll understand exactly what I've encountered. And I just don't want you to feel alone. I want you to take what I've learned and let whatever I've gone through, let it not be a shackle in your life. Let's just move forward. Continue moving forward.
So, in other words, to free yourself, to feel free, and
we are already free. I think we're already free. I mean, I don't think it's just the freedom. We just need to learn how to cope with that freedom. We are not pregnant and barefoot anymore in the kitchen.
Well, some of us might be, because it's the younger generation still have to go through that. Hopefully they do it in the right context, eh?
Well, you know what? If I mean, we as women in the new generation, they can even make up their mind if they don't want to be pregnant. I mean, back in the day, women, it was all they did was finish school, and also maybe even they never went to school, but they had to just be
The
baby
bearers.
makers.
Yeah, the bearers of children.
The bearers of children. And today, I mean, it's okay to want to go to varsity and study further, and you have the whole world at your feet, and you don't want to have kids, it's okay.
Yes.
I think they have that option now.
Fantastic. Sue, it's been absolutely wonderful to have you on line with me, as obviously someone that I know quite well already. As I say, we go back a number of years, but I'm sure that those who have been listening in on now know you a little bit better. But I do know that we have some ladies online with us, so I obviously want to give the ladies an opportunity. Is there anybody that would like to possibly ask a question, or just share a sentiment, having heard Sue? Anything anybody would like to say, you're very welcome to. You can unmute your microphone and come in. We have 2 minutes left. Anybody want to join in on the conversation in the last little bit? Okay, all right. No, that's fine then. So Sue, where to from here? Where are you going to be spending the next 5 years? Let's call 5-year plan. What is your 5-year plan?
I'm still trying to wing it till next week. And Definitely, I've made my mark here in South Africa. I've made my mark here. I've made my name known. I've made my brand known. I like to expand under that brand, that umbrella of SUM brand. So I'm definitely here to continue doing what I'm doing. Just a lot more giving back to humanity. I'm a lot more on the ground these days in terms of charity. And like I say, GBV has affected me. So I think I'm a lot more on the ground with in terms of my charity. Keeping that and paying it forward. Just listening to the heartbeat of South Africa at the moment. Definitely.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And you're such an asset to this country for the amazing work that you have done. And, I just know that, your heart is in it, and, the charitable work that you do is remarkable. And, as I said right in the beginning, I salute you and I honor you and I love you. You're like a daughter to me.
And that's the thing, Charlotte.
There's so much more in our relationship than what meets the eye. But just having you part of this project was wonderful. And I know that the day that I said to you that I need your chapter by now, and then you thought that you weren't going to get it ready, and then you said to me, I'm on my 15th page already, something to that effect. And I said, I know, but I only needed 7 pages. So Sue, you clearly have a long story to tell, and that's obviously going to be available in your memoirs. So thank you so much.
There's so much to me. There's a lot to me, and I'm glad to have shared a part of my journey with the Forgotten Woman. And I just wish all the women in South Africa all the best for the rest of Women's Month.
Well, thank you so much. And there's some comments coming through now on the chat box as we close off. Marta Marie Kona is saying to us, let's just see what they're saying. Thank you, Sue, amazing story. Isabel says, Sue, my inspiration, I salute you. And Rashina Naidu, just want to say thank you for sharing, Sue, and to Charlotte for facilitating. Thank you for joining us, ladies. Thank you, Sue. And as I say, we look forward to the memoirs you've now already heard.
It will definitely be out. It's out next year in April.
There we go. So we look forward to that. So thank you to everybody that joined in today. We honestly appreciate it. And go out and download the book on Amazon Kindle, where you can read Sue's full story, well, at least the chapter of a chapter of her life. And by doing that, you're supporting the Forgotten Woman of COVID-19 fundraising project, and hopefully we can help some of the women who have been adversely affected as a result of the pandemic and the lockdown. So bless you all. Thank you. Thank you, Sue. Lots of love. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye.